Fans, it's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis hit third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 of the National League Division Series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Dodgers, right-hander Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside Dodger Stadium. Welcome into our coverage of this National League Division Series. First pitch coming up at 5:38 p.m. for the opener of this best-of-5 series. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. We'll hear from Luis Arraez, Jurickson Profar, Jackson Merrill, Joe Musgrove, Dylan Cease, and we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. But first, let's set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Well, the Padres enter this series after sweeping the Atlanta Braves in the NL Wild Card Series earlier this week at Petco Park. A 4-0 win in Game 1, a 5-4 win in Game 2. The Dodgers are the number 1 seed in the National League bracket. They received a bye through the Wild Card Series and open up their postseason here tonight. The Padres won the regular season series between these two teams for the first time since 2010. The Padres went 8-5 against the Dodgers, including clinching a postseason berth here a week and a half ago. But before we turn our full attention to this NLDS, let's revisit how the Padres got here.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Game 2 of the NL Wild Card Series on Wednesday. The Padres trailed 1-0 heading bottom 2. That was before Kyle Higashioka stepped in.
1-2 pitch is hitting the air to deep left field. Laureano is back. He is at the wall. Oh my goodness, it's going to go. Kyle Higashioka takes it out for the second consecutive night and a 1-1 game here in the second inning.
Later in the inning, the bases were loaded for Manny Machado.
Fried, big breath. He delivers. Machado swings, lines it into left field. That's a fair ball. Gonna bounce and roll all the way to the wall. Arraez and Tatis have scored. Profar will be held. Manny into second with a 2-run double. And the Padres in front. It's 3-1.
Oh, the Padres weren't done. The rookie was next.
Here's the pitch on the way. Merrill swings, sends it in the air to deep center field on a line. Harris is back at the wall. It hits up against the base of the wall. Pops back into play. Both runs will score. Merrill's on his way to third. A 2-run triple.
6 consecutive hits, 5 runs scored. The Padres led 5-1. Brave starter Max Fried would go just 2 innings in this game. Joe Musgrove pitched into the 5th inning, would then come out with an injury. As we know, that would become a very serious elbow injury. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. The Braves got a little bit closer. Jorge Soler hit a solo home run against Brian Hoeing in the top of the 5th inning. Michael Harris II hit a 2-run home run against Jason Adams to make it 5-4 in the top of the 8th inning. The Padres still had a 1-run lead. Going to the 9th inning, Robert Suarez came on for the save chance.
47,705 on their feet. Darno swings at the first pitch, pops it up, foul ground first base. Up the line, Higashioka makes the catch, tumbles over Solano. He held on. The game is over, and it's on to Los Angeles. The Padres have swept the Atlanta Braves in the Wild Card Series, and they will play Game 1 of the NLDS at Dodger Stadium on Saturday night.
And here we are on Saturday night, game one of this NLDS coming up in just a little bit. The Padres making quick work of the Atlanta Braves. A very, very nice job. They never trailed in that series against Atlanta, and now they bring things to L.A. with the idea of a National League Championship Series on their minds. But first things first as we begin this best-of-5 series in L.A. Let's go inside the Padres radio booth and check in with Jesse Agler.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview. Presented by Broken Yo Cafe. With 15 San Diego locations, live on the sunny side and start your day at Broken Yo Cafe.
All right, Jesse, it's Padres, it's Dodgers, it's Cease on the mound for San Diego, Yamamoto on the mound for L.A., and obviously these two teams, it seemed like they had been on a collision course for a while here, and now here we are in the NLDS. These two teams now battling here in L.A., later in San Diego. Your thoughts as we enter, obviously, a very interesting, fun, and a very important series for these two teams.
Oh, it's everything, right? I mean, It's one of these things where I feel like I could sit here and talk about it for an hour before it began, but then I could also talk about it for 10 seconds and say, all right, that's enough. Like, let's go. I think everybody knows everything they need to know. It's a rivalry. It's a postseason collision for the third time in 5 years between these two teams. It's a Dodger team that is absolutely desperate to show that they can get out of the National League Division Series after the way they have been bounced by the Diamondbacks and the Padres the last 2 years. And it's a Padre team that is showing, hey, we're continuing to be on the ascent. And I think a team that wants to prove it can go even further than it went in 2022 when they fell in the National League Championship Series. So, I would never call Padres-Dodgers in October an appetizer. But I do think the reality is both teams have bigger fish to fry. But, of course, you have to eat the appetizer before the main course comes, and I think that's where we are.
And then we have this pitching matchup here tonight. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for L.A. Jesse, let's start with Cease. Obviously, a little bit of an up-and-down campaign. Some stretches in the regular season where he was absolutely dominant. Some stretches where it got a little bit shakier. But as we know, Dylan has quite the ability to take care of this L.A. lineup. I guess we're looking for that really, really sharp version of Dylan Cease here in Game 1.
Yeah, if we get that one, it's going to be a good night for the Padres almost assuredly, because when he's on like that, it's very, very difficult to get anything going against him. We saw that in the no-hitter. We saw that in the Astro game when he was probably even better than he was in D.C. And when he is all the way on, he's as electric and good as anybody in the game right now. And, the Dodgers obviously have some historically incredible offensive talent. But if he is pitching that way, the Padres, as I said, are going to be in a very, very good position. But, the reality is it's hard to go out and do that every time. And so if he doesn't have that complete electric total command sort of night, how is he able to sort of navigate what is obviously a very, very difficult lineup? And, we heard Dylan a lot yesterday in the media sessions talking about, knowing you pretty much have to come right at these guys. But if you start nibbling, if you start falling behind, if you start walking guys, you're putting yourself in the torture chamber. And you're going to have a really, really difficult time digging out of that. So there are not a lot of secrets between these two teams right now. It will all come down to execution.
And Jesse, quickly on the other side of this pitching matchup, Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound for L.A. And obviously somebody who the Padres saw a couple of times very early in the season. Then he was injured for a while, and now they see him for the first time since April. But let's talk more about the Padres offense. When this team is going right, they hit, they string together hits, they find ways to score runs. They did a good job scoring early in the wild card series. What do you view as the keys here tonight for the Padres lineup against Yamamoto and beyond?
Yeah, I think the early thing is the key that you just said there. The Padres have scored 8 runs against Yamamoto in his 2 outings. 7 of the 8 runs have come in the first inning. Further, we are hearing endlessly from everybody associated with the Dodgers the last 2 days, things like, we got to get off to a fast start. We got to throw the first punch. We got to get going in a hurry. And so the Padres getting to bat in the top of the first inning, obviously on the road, if they are able to land that first punch, if they are able to put up some numbers in the first, maybe that takes some of the air out of the Dodger balloon, and maybe it does create a little bit of that feeling in the third base dugout here of, oh boy, here we go again. So yeah, I mean, look, it's a lot easier said than done. But if the Padres can get the ball rolling in the top of the first inning, I think that could be absolutely huge.
All right, Jesse, thanks so much. We appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up I'm trying to do the math here, 5:38. So we'll talk to you coming up at just before 5:30 as the Padres take on the Dodgers here in Game 1 of this NLDS. Thanks so much, and have fun with this one.
Hey, you got it, Sam. Have fun.
All right, Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. We are just getting started as we lock in for Game 1. When we return, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll hear from a number of different players as well coming up, including Luis Arise and Jurickson Profar and Dylan Cease and Joe Musgrove. Much, much more to do from L.A. as the Padres begin this National League Division Series. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues from Dodger Stadium after this on the Padres Radio Network. Back here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal 2024 BBB Torch Awards for Ethics winner. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Your water should be perfect. Sam Levitt with you here at Dodger Stadium in L.A. as we get ready for Game 1 of this National League Division Series between the Padres and the Dodgers. We'll hear from Luis Arise, Jurickson Profar, much, much more to come as we bring you up towards first pitch coming up at 5:38 here in L.A., but first let's hear from the Padres skipper.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Well, taking a look at the Padres playoff roster today, obviously Joe Musgrove not on the roster, and we'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later in our pregame coverage. But as you probably have heard by now, Joe will undergo Tommy John surgery in the coming days. So the two additions to the pitching staff for the Padres is they ended up carrying 14 pitchers on the roster. The additions are Martin Perez and Alec Jacob added to the Padres Division Series roster. So again, Musgrove off the roster because of the injury, and Alec Jacob and Martin Perez, the two pitchers added to the roster. Mike Shildt begins by talking about the additions of Perez and Jacob.
You know, with Joe being out, you know, we're not sure what Game 4 is going to look like exactly. So he went with more pitching and longer series, so that's pretty much it.
What kind of role do you expect from each of those guys, Perez and Jacob?
Maybe more longer. You know, Martin's obviously built up. He'll be in the bullpen for whatever the situation arises for, but, you know, maybe no extra, you know, with extra innings, you know, no ghost runner. Want some length in case you get in that environment, so more likely that scenario.
So yesterday when you were in here, you gave a pretty short statement about Joe, and then AJ went into detail. How much of discussion was there in the clubhouse, and how has this been digested by you? And I know it's kind of a family thing with you guys.
It is a family thing. You know, the reason I didn't want to announce it was because we had a 205 clubhouse where Joe was going to be able to share it with the teammates and the staff. So, yeah, it's tough. You know, Joe Musgrove is everything's good about sports. You know, heart, competitor, great teammate, leader, likes big moments. But Joe Musgrove is also what's really just good about humanity. He's as good a guy as you'll ever meet. So it's hard. You know, it's hard. It was a tough meeting for him, clearly. But we're going to rally around him, support him. You know, he's here with us, and you know, we'll figure out a way to move on.
Hey, Mike, back in April, I think it was Colorado where you guys scratched Jackson Merrill from a game just to be cautious, and since then he's played 156 games in the regular season, obviously still going. Back then, did you think there was any possibility he was going to play as many games as he did after, you know, he's 21 and 3 years after high school, and what have you made of the way he's managed himself just physically?
Take a lot of credit to Jackson for being able to manage that. He's gotten some good guidance from the clubhouse. I appreciate him being honest about his workload relative to going into games. He got to a certain point where it's like, you know, there's no expectations for young players to be out there every day, BP, early work, you know, defensive work. And once we realized he was going to be an everyday guy, I had the conversation with, like, look, what's this look like to scale back? So we're ready to, you know, carry the load for the remainder of the season. You know, that can go one way or the other. You know, he's never done it. Which clearly is something that you've got to experience at some point. You can also look at the fact that he's 21 years old and loves playing baseball. So I think it was really impressive on his part how to prepare, how to you know, conserve his energy and still get after it. One thing that was telling for me at least was the ground ball the other day, running from home to first, was his fastest sprint time of the year. So clearly he's ready physically and mentally.
Just to go off of Jackson playing as much as he has, he's talked about the influence that Manny has had on him throughout the season. Just wondering if you could elaborate on the impact that Manny's had both on the field and inside the clubhouse this particular season.
Yeah, you know, him being able to show the way by his actions, which he clearly has, playing hurt, playing not at full strength, beginning of the season coming off the surgery, it speaks volumes, and Manny's done that for a long time. His ability, and I get the privilege of seeing this, and I don't go in the clubhouse a ton, but I you know, pay attention. I had conversations with him, and you know, you have stories like you just shared. You know, Manny's done a really nice job of being able to share his experience. He's been able to lead by the proverbial example on the field, but he's also been able to take guys like Jackson under his wing and say, hey, this is what this looks like. This is what, you know, we can get ahead of for you, and just share thoughts for him. He's done that with a lot of guys in the clubhouse. It's been a big part of our club.
Mike, I believe we have Luis coming in here in a few minutes. His reputation precedes him as a contact hitter, but seeing him up close every night, what can you tell me what you learned that maybe you didn't know, and just what he brought to the club at the top of that lineup?
more confirmation than learned, but seeing it's still impressive, right? You know, until you see it. I've seen him a little bit across the way, didn't cross pass a lot. Recognize the competitor, bat-to-ball skills. We trade for him, and immediately we were in Arizona, and I get a text from Skip Schumacher, and it's like glowing. And then we talked to each other. He's like, this guy will blow your mind. You know, the way he takes at bats and the way he prepares and the way he sees the game, and then the kind of guy he is, the human he is. He's just a really solid dude. And he's fit in great. And he showed up in Fort Knox the first game, boom, boom, boom. It's like, all right, you know, you watch the preparation, you see how he competes, and he's done nothing but elevate us.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the interview room here at Dodger Stadium. Sam Levitt back with you inside the broadcast booth as we get ready for today's game. Game 1 of this National League Division Series between the Padres and the Dodgers. Let's update you on some of the headlines around the majors as the postseason continues.
What's the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball? Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Brought to you by your San Diego Hyundai dealer. With a brand new Hyundai, there's joy in every journey. See your San Diego Hyundai dealer or visit HyundaiUSA.com today.
Let's go through a couple of headlines here, one involving the postseason and one not involving a postseason team. Yankees first baseman Anthony Rizzo missing the ALDS against the Royals. That series opener going on right now in New York. That's after he fractured 2 fingers in his right hand last week after being hit by a pitch. The one headline not involving a postseason team that has to do with the Cincinnati Reds and the hiring of new manager Terry Francona, a 3-year deal with Cincinnati. Francona stepped down as the Guardians manager after the 2023 season. Of course, Francona led the Red Sox to the World Series, a World Series title in 2004 and 2007. So Terry Francona, the new manager of the Cincinnati Reds, that will begin in 2025. And that is a look at some of the headlines around Major League Baseball. Probably the biggest headline outside the postseason right now is that news involving Terry Francona and the Cincinnati Reds. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we'll update you on a couple of major injury situations, one for the Dodgers and one for the Padres. We also hear from Luis Arraez, Jurickson Profar, Jackson Merrill, and much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 5:38 here in L.A. It's Game 1 of the National League Division Series. We continue after this on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside Dodger Stadium as we get ready for Game 1 of this National League Division Series. Jesse Ackler, Tony Gwynn Jr. standing by. They will have the full starting lineups and first pitch coming up at around 5:28 p.m. Let's update you on a couple of major injury situations, one for the Dodgers and one for the Padres.
Who's in, who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Let's begin with the Dodgers' Freddie Freeman. He sprained his right ankle last Thursday against the Padres, a really bad turn of it after he crossed the first baseline and was running down the line. Freeman did not travel to Colorado with the Dodgers last weekend. Certainly sounded like he would play yesterday when he spoke with the media, but then earlier today, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts didn't sound as confident. He called it wait-and-see mode earlier today, but you look at the LA lineup for Game 1 once it came out, and Freddie Freeman is indeed in the lineup and playing for a space. But that is certainly a situation to keep an eye on. Freddie Freeman and that very severe right ankle sprain. He was talking yesterday about how doctors told him that's normally an injury that takes 4 to 6 weeks to recover from. Well, Freeman's going to try to get over it in a week or so and play here tonight, so something to keep an eye on. Meanwhile, for the Padres, as we found out yesterday, some very, very sad news, really. Joe Musgrove undergoing Tommy John surgery in the coming days. He has damage to his UCL, and Joe Musgrove spoke with the media here in L.A. yesterday. Here was Joe with the media.
I'm devastated about, not being able to finish what we started. But, I'm not all that concerned about the work or the rehab and, the time off. I know how to work hard. It's just a matter of, coming to grips with that. This is it for me.
Did they tell you how significant the tear was? Like, was it a full tear and give you a time?
I mean, it's pretty good. Yeah, enough to where I feel like I can't throw a ball. So.
Did you know right away when you came off the mound that it was probably that bad? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with it for a while, and everyone's got some kind of tears and some damage in the UCL. I was told back in the middle months of the summer that, that there was some damage there and that it was kind of a matter of time. And, this seemed like something that I could manage physically. I felt like I was capable of throwing still. I didn't feel like anything, as extreme as, a UCL injury. But over the last few weeks, it was getting, a little more intense. And then, obviously, in that last game, it was a pretty drastic jump from, like, the third to the fourth inning. I felt decent in the first couple innings, and below stuff was still there. I think I remember after the third coming in and feeling like significantly tighter and put some heat on it, tried to go back out, and then, that entire fourth inning was a struggle. I was just trying to get it over the plate and get out of the inning and, reevaluate from there. But, yeah, I think I was pretty clear. I didn't, necessarily know it was a UCL injury, but it was something that I hadn't felt before, and to the point where, obviously, I don't think that's the first time in my career I've had to walk off the mound. So, yeah, it was pretty intense for me.
That was Joe Musgrove yesterday here in L.A. Obviously very frustrating and sad news for Joe, who's meant so much to this team. He literally gave it all he had in Game 2 of that wild card series against Atlanta. So presumably we'll see Joe at some point in 2026. We wish him the best. Such a big part of this team, what he means to the franchise, to the city. So all the best to Joe Musgrove. That was Joe yesterday here in L.A. Well, Jurickson Profar, of course, back in the lineup today for the Padres, playing at left field, and Profar is, as usual, batting third behind Fernando Tatis Jr. Jurickson spoke with the media yesterday here in L.A., and here's what Jurickson had to say.
Hey, Jurickson, you've been here for all three of these division series matchups, and each time's kind of like the circumstances have been different. Your pitching problems in 2020, and then they beat you guys so much in 22, but then you beat them. Like, how does this team, this Padres team, compare to those previous two teams?
I think this time we a little more prepared, and a lot of players on our team has been through this division series numerous of time already, and I think we are more than prepared this time.
Obviously, these two teams saw each other very recently with the end of the regular season. How would you just describe that series, the intensity of that matchup, and how do you think, from your side, it's kind of prepared you all for this division series?
Yes, down the stretch, every game mattered. Every game was a playoff game. And we came here first, and then we went to Arizona. They were fighting too for a playoff spot, and it prepared us for now. Those games were playoff games.
They often, on the Dodger side, we often hear about just how you all and the Padres in specific show up with a lot of intensity when it comes to this matchup. Where do you think that stems from, whether it's in the clubhouse, just how you guys play on the field? Could you put that to words, I guess, if possible?
I think we play high intensity against every team, but the Dodgers have a really, really good team, and I think the energy that the game itself brings is a little different.
Hi, how different is the mentality of this Padres group going into the playoffs compared to years past?
I think we were more confident, just by winning makes that happen. You're more confident in yourself and in your teammates, and we have a great team, and we believe in each other, and we're always fighting for each other.
JP, you guys often as a lineup have these long extended at bats, and how did you guys get to that point? Because I know you're not up there intentionally every time trying to have these long at-bats, but just by the style in which you guys play, it seems like you guys end up dragging these pitchers out to the deep end. Is that something that you guys have purposefully done, or is this kind of just as the year has evolved, you guys have gotten to this place?
Yes, I think, we got there. And I think the whole lineup is like that. We got guys that, are really, really tough outs, 1 through 9, and I think that's a good job by the front office.
That was Jurickson Profar inside the interview room yesterday here in L.A. Good stuff from Jurickson as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 5:38, Game 1 of this National League Division Series between the Padres and the Dodgers. Let's tell you about what else is going on around the Division Series across Major League Baseball on this Saturday.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We have two finals already today. We have one game going on. Let's begin with the earliest game of the day. That was Game 1 of the ALDS between the Guardians and the Tigers in Cleveland. The Guardians had a 5-run first inning. Lane Thomas capped that first inning with a home run. Later in the game, they would get 2 more. The Guardians blanked the Tigers. Good start for Tanner Bybee in that one as the Guardians take a 1-game-to-none lead in the best-of-5 series. The final score, Guardians 7 and the Tigers nothing. The Mets came back to beat the Phillies in Philadelphia. This one wrapped up not that all that long ago. Phillies led 1-0 most of this game. Zach Wheeler was terrific, 7 scoreless innings, but then the Mets scoring 5 runs in the top of the 8th inning against the Phillies bullpen. They go on to win 6-2. The Mets take a 1-game-to-none series lead in that NLDS. We have one game going on right now. Bottom half of the 5th inning in New York. It's the Royals and the Yankees in Game 1. Royals 3 and the Yankees 2. But the Yankees do have the bases loaded with nobody out right now in the bottom half of the 5th inning in New York. And that's a look at the other Game 1s going on today in the 2 ALDS series and the other National League Division Series between the Phillies and the Mets. Well, Jackson Merrill, the rookie, getting his first taste of the NLDS here today. Jackson had a big impact in Game 2 of the NL Wildcard Series. That 2-run triple to cap that 5-run second inning, helping propel the Padres to a 5-4 win to sweep that series against Atlanta. I caught up with Jackson Merrill on the field during yesterday's workout. Jackson, getting ready for this NLDS. Let's quickly sum up the wild card series. 2 wins. You had a big 2-run triple in the second game. How would you sum up your first taste of postseason baseball?
Awesome. The energy's awesome. Everybody's electric there, and we just enjoy playing in front of a big crowd and kind of giving people what they want. Just they want good baseball. We got to give it to them.
In both games of that series, you took early leads. Fernando's home run early in Game 1, then that big 5-run inning in Game 2. In your eyes, how important is it for this offense to jump ahead and give the pitching some breathing room?
Yeah, I think it's always huge for any offense to do that. I think we're more capable of coming back when we're down 2. I got faith in my guys, and everybody's got faith in each other. I think that two-out rally we had kind of shows it. We're not going to just go down and give you that third out. We're going to grind it out and run out bases and do anything we can to score some more runs.
What do you particularly enjoy about the postseason so far? You're a guy that likes to play with energy. You feed off the crowd. You feed off this environment. What have you enjoyed about it?
Just the way people just show up, and show appreciation to the game, and they show appreciation as fans. I know some fans could be hecklers and they could be pretty ruthless out there, but at least they're here. They could be sitting at home and yelling at the TV, but they're here. They're showing the support in person, and I appreciate that.
That was Jackson Merrill yesterday at the workout day. Jackson back in the lineup and playing center field, making his National League Division Series debut here tonight in L.A. First pitch coming up at 5:38. Let's give you our keys to Game 1.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Anthony's Fish Grotto in La Mesa. Voted San Diego's best seafood restaurant for 2024. Continuing Mama Gio's legacy with lakeside dining in East County, where your furry friends are always welcome.
Key number 1, stop the show. Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers finally makes his postseason debut here tonight. He's played 875 regular season games, the second most by any active player without appearing in the playoffs. Ohtani is likely going to win his 3rd MVP this season. 54 home runs, 130 RBIs, 1036 OPS in the regular season. He had a ridiculous September, 393 batting average, 10 home runs, and 32 RBIs in 26 games. So the question for the Padres here tonight, can you prevent Ohtani from being that type of player tonight and in this series? Can you at least limit him? Can you make sure that the bottom of the order doesn't get on in front of him? Remember, he's the Dodgers' leadoff man. Do you pitch around him at times, even if it means facing Mookie Betts in the on-deck circle? How the Padres handle and do against Shohei Ohtani, that is key number 1 in tonight's game, and certainly a key in this series. Key number 2, the guy behind Ohtani, make his postseason struggles continue. I'm talking about Mookie Betts. He is just 2 for 25 in his last 7 postseason games. That includes the 2022 NLDS against the Padres. The Padres did an excellent job against them in that series in 22. They've got to do another good job against them here tonight, especially if you're careful with Ohtani in that leadoff spot. Key number 3, Toddy and Manny. In a series like this, it's no secret. Your stars have to be stars. Fernando Tatis Jr. had that big home run in the first inning in Game 1 against the Braves. It felt like that really set the tone for the series. This is a place, Dodger Stadium, where Fernando has done some great things. In the regular season, Tatis has hit .313 in this building with a .992 OPS, 12 home runs in just 34 games at Dodger Stadium. Manny Machado hurt the Dodgers this year, too. Manny hit 5 home runs in 13 games against his former team this season, including 3 home runs here in L.A. So the key here tonight in this series, can Machado and Tatis lead the way for this lineup? We're going to find out. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back, we hear from Luis Arraez. We also have a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. We'll hear from Dylan Cease as well. First pitch at 5:38 as we walk you up towards the opener of this 5-game series. Should say best of 5 series between the Padres and the Dodgers as the Padres starting lineup gets introduced here at Dodger Stadium. The boos coming down. But you know what? They're ready to go. The guys in the brown and the gold will pause. When we come back, we continue our pregame coverage on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you here in LA as we get ready for Game 1 of the NLDS. Let's tell you what to watch for in tonight's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in Game 1. Can Luis Arraez get it going against Dodgers pitching? The Padres offense, as we know, is at its best when Arraez is doing what he does at the top of the order. Arraez just won his third straight batting title with a third different team, leading the National League with a .314 batting average this season. But here's the thing. Dodgers pitching has done really well against Arraez this season. He's just 5 for 33 against LA pitching. That's a .152 batting average, a pretty dramatic difference for a guy that always hits well above 300. So what to watch for here tonight? Can Arraez be a catalyst at the top of the Padres lineup? Here was my question for Luis Arraez earlier in the day.
Luis, facing Yamamoto tonight, your teammates faced him a couple of times early in the season. What kind of preparation goes into facing somebody you've never seen before like Yamamoto?
Yeah, I never faced him, but I watched his video already. And then I prepared my mind already, and then I just want to go there and do my thing. I just want to go there and put ball and play.
So that was Luis Arraez earlier in the day. On the other side of this pitching matchup, right-hander Dylan Cease. Let's hear what Dylan Cease had to say with the media yesterday. He begins by talking about the impact of making a second straight start against the Dodgers.
The biggest thing is just I feel like that gave me a little bit of a kind of an experience and a look into what this will be like. Obviously, it's going to be a little more intense, but if anything, I look at it like it was kind of preparing me for this.
How did you do that preparation, knowing that you could have faced Atlanta and now you end up facing these guys? Like, were you focused on the Braves until you weren't?
I was more focused on what I was doing, kind of work on my mechanics, making sure I liked how the ball was coming out of my hand. And since I just faced them, I have a lot of their lineup kind of fresh on my mind and on, how an attack plan. So it was more of just focusing on putting myself in a position where I feel like I was going to execute as consistent as possible, which for me was kind of working on mechanics.
Has there ever been a hitter that you haven't challenged and you're very confident in your stuff? It's good stuff, but you've got Shohei and then a couple really good hitters right behind him too. This is a unique lineup, and I just wonder, would you face them differently than you have anybody?
In general, baseball is kind of a game where, you have to do certain things if you're going to have success. If you pitch timidly and you walk guys or you fall behind, you're really just setting yourself up for failure. So at the end of the day, it's a challenge and, it's difficult, but you got to kind of rise to the occasion and meet it.
That was today's starting pitcher for the Padres, Dylan Cease, yesterday inside the interview room here at Dodger Stadium. Let's talk even more about today's starting pitching matchup in Game 1 between Dylan Cease and Yoshinobu Yamamoto.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. In 2024, 14-11, a 3.47 ERA, 33 outings, 189 innings and a third. He struck out 224, the second most strikeouts in the NL, just one behind Chris Sale. Cease finished the year very strong overall, a 2.46 ERA in his final 14 starts of the regular season. Faced the Dodgers here in LA last Wednesday, allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. Made one other start against the Dodgers at the end of July in San Diego, gave up just 1 run in 5 2/3 innings in that game. Cease has made 1 postseason start. That came in 2021, Game 3 of the ALDS. White Sox against the Astros. Cease didn't get out of the second inning in that game, allowed 3 runs and walked 3. Meanwhile, on the mound for LA, right-hander Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Dodgers gave him a $325 million contract in the offseason. In 2024, 18 starts, a 3 ERA, 90 innings, 105 strikeouts, 22 walks, spent almost 3 months on the IL with a right shoulder injury. In 4 starts since returning, he's posted a 3.38 ERA in 16 innings. The most pitches he threw in any of those starts was 79, and he only went 5 innings once. Faced the Padres in his Dodgers debut. That came in Korea. The Padres were all over him in that first inning. He gave up 5 runs on 4 hits in his first major league inning, but he quickly got better. His next 13 starts before going on the IL, a 2.34 ERA. So that's a look at our starting pitching matchup here today between Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Dylan Cease. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal 2024 BBB Torch Awards for Ethics winner. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Your water should be perfect. Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. standing by, ready to go. It's Game 1 of the National League Division Series coming up next on the Padres Radio Network.